Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft server. It is episode 86 and today we're going to have a very exciting episode indeed. I'm hoping that we will be able to pull off a two-half episode. So half number one is going to be to finish off the Slabyrinth. This thing has taken a long time, but that's because I really wanted to do it well, and the final piece of the puzzle, as it were, is to build up the actual thing around it, because obviously we're not going to leave it like this. This place is really ugly, and you guys have been suggesting a whole ton of different builds. I've been inundated with tweets, loads of different designs. All of them look really, really cool. The second half of the episode is going to involve this area over here. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really have a plan for this, but I want to build a passive mob farm. Now, I have a design in mind, kind of, but I have no clue how well it's going to work. So I suppose you'll have to stay tuned for that. We'll see how successful it is. But first things first, resource gathering, ready to start work on the building. You know what, before we start though, Squid Farm needs to be fixed. Where is this minecart? Why does it keep getting stuck? That, however, is not the right way to go about fixing it. Okay, I've washed away all the prismarine and also all of the minecart rails. Good. And we still haven't found the minecart. Oddly enough, it turns out that there was actually two minecarts there. Both of them had crashed into one another, which meant that they had got stuck. Bit odd, but it seems to be fixed now, so let's just grab some resources and actually start work on the Slabyrinth building. I've got a really cool design for it. This is something that I haven't had to do for quite some time. I think the last time that I used concrete in any one of my builds, and you can hold me to this because I'm sure I've forgotten, is probably the floor of this area. Wow, I should use it more often. So, the first thing I'm going to have to do is build the actual framework for this thing. Now, I am going to have to triple check what the tweet looks like because I am building this off a reference of a design that I received via Twitter. And it goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 blocks high. So this is quite a tall structure. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright, pretty monstrous, but that's going to wrap around like this, and then we're going to have some decorative bits and pieces going on the walls. And now that is pretty much all done. Just some cobblestone, maybe a little bit more. Stone bricks, mossy cobblestone. There we go. So this is what it looks like so far. We've got the outer edge, and then the inner ring right there. And then it's inside these inner rings that we're going to add in all of the detail. And I just want to say, big thank you to FamilyCraft Dad for sending in this design. I really, really like the way that it looks. But it does use a whole ton of concrete. That was 9, maybe 8 or 9 stacks of black concrete right there, and we're probably just over halfway done. What on earth happened here? How do I get back to the dirt hut? The dirt hut's been lost. There's no way to get home. Big thank you to CubedFan for picking up my slack when it came to my ink farm because, yeah, he seems to have a lot of the stuff. I have a newfound respect for Iskall and his plastic fantastic island because concrete is a pain in the backside. I don't want to work with it anymore. But this thing is now all fully blacked out. So this thing is completely black, and now we can actually start work on creating the sides, which are going to be little mazes themselves. So this is the sort of design that we're going to end up with. We have got a maze on the front of our maze, and we're going to have that on all 4 of the sides. And then, following along with all of your comments telling me to make a hedge maze, I thought we would make a little hedge maze out the front, so the player has to actually go through that before they actually get into the maze itself. That should be good fun. Oh, and just so you know, the mazes that I'm creating are actually possible, and they do have a start and an end, and I'm going to link them up between each one of them. So this one comes through to here, then you go through there, and you make your way around like that. You wrap around like this, go up there, and then down there, and then across and across like that. And then the next one that I create on the back of this thing is going to have another puzzle going around. But, as has become a bit of a habit lately, we are fresh out of stone once again. I have done about 3 of the sides so far. I'm working on the final one, but we are completely fresh out of stone slabs, which is unsurprising considering there's many thousands underneath this building. And this is it. The slab has now been completed. The external section of the Slabyrinth is now done. It's entirely completable. It's a maze in itself. And if we take a look at it from a distance, I really like the way that it looks. I think it looks so cool. Such an awesome idea. I totally cannot take credit for this idea. This was entirely Famicraft Dad, but it looks really, really nice. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go out. I'm going to gather up some grass. We need some grass to put around this thing. And also, I'm going to need some hedges to put around this thing. But, as per usual, I don't actually have any of that stuff on my base. I swear, I just don't have anything. I seem to be just constantly resource gathering. It's episode 86. I should have this stuff. Now, I'm curious. Iskal said that mycelium doesn't spread to grass. And I've kind of got my fingers crossed for that because I'm relying on it. I'm relying on it for this build. It doesn't look like it. As far as I can tell, it doesn't seem to be happening. Come on, hurry up, fill in. I need to repair my shovel. There's too many people on the server causing this thing to slow down. Now, instead of making this a complete 2-block high maze, I think I'm going to create just a 1-block. I don't want to make it really difficult to actually get into this place. So if the hermit wants to, they can literally jump over this thing and get inside. And also the route in really isn't particularly challenging, and it's not going to have any offshoots. This is purely just going to be for decoration, wrapping around the edges. And I think out the front we're going to have a relatively big maze, but then on the sides I probably won't go more than about 4 blocks out. So it's just going to wrap around like this, and it's just going to look cool. And I think it will look cool. Finally though, this exterior area is now all completed. The Slabyrinth is done from the outside. Awesome. Let's take a look at what it looks like from above. I imagine this thing is going to look pretty cool. I'm hoping it looks pretty cool. That's kind of what I'm going for here. Nice. That looks really good. Oh, I love it. Oh, I absolutely love it. I think that looks fantastic. What a cool looking build. What an absolutely cool looking build. Definitely best appreciated from up in the sky. Nice. Nice. Okay, roof. Need to do a roof. I have no clue what to do for the roof. So this is the idea that I had for the roof. And I have to say, I mean, it's very similar to the rest of the build, but I think it really finishes it off. I haven't looked at it from above yet, but let's just see. Sweet. There we go. That's perfect. Now this has been a bit of a killer build. Like, it has taken me a very long time to construct all of this, but I do feel like the end result is pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Maze building is always tricky because all of these mazes, they work. I've made sure of that. Apart from this one, which only has this one entrance here. If you were to actually enter here, then you can... Okay, that was a total what a fail. I made sure that these mazes work, but I clearly blocked it off accidentally. But yeah, all of these mazes do function past that point. So look, you can see, you can make your way down here and do all this and everything like that. So clearly I just messed up the entrance right there. But this all functions as a fully working maze. Cool. Okay, now it's just the internal stuff. This is a bit more of a tricky build than I was expecting. Whoa. I'm almost tempted to just leave it like that. That looks wicked. This is so tricky to build though, because this is just pure black. I can't see anything. Cannot see a thing. I can't tell if I've placed blocks where I placed them. I'm fairly certain I've left a gap there, but I'm not. I don't know. I've never done a build like this before. The thing that made this area look good from the ceiling's perspective is now what is making the area look bad from the flooring perspective. I think maybe it might be a good idea to just, I guess, use full blocks. Oh, even then it still does it. I did my best, but there's nothing I can do about this. Oh, there is something that I can do, I reckon. I reckon I can put a birch slab there. I'm gonna go insane. I'm gonna go actually insane. Look how much work I have filled in this area with slabs. I've done everything. I've done everything I possibly can. This has got birch slabs. Just stop making light, please. So here is my plan for this area. What I want to do is I want to fill in all of these gaps that I've just created out of this maze with blacked stained glass. So this is just going to fill in this space, and that's going to give the impression that the player is actually walking on top of a maze before they actually drop down into the maze itself. And then of course we can do all of the other bits and pieces, like write out the rules and all that good stuff. One thing to watch out for is that you don't fall down this hole. Oh, that is... yeah, that's a bit of a health and safety hazard. You definitely have to be wary of that. Looks like somebody's doing a bit of a fly past of the Slabyrinth. They just flew right over the top of it. I can't tell who it is. I think that might have been Joe Hills. Not 100% certain. Anyway, I now have all of the glass in place. I also have all of the signs which say, welcome to the Slabyrinth. Step 1, make sure you have food. Step 2, make sure the timer chest is empty. If not, hit the reset button. Step 3, jump down into the maze and complete as fast as possible. Step 4, look at timer chest and take note of how quick you were. There are 4 levels. 1 is the stand pusher. The second one is invisible. The third one is the button find. And the fourth is key operated. Good luck. And then here I have my records book, and this was the time that I achieved in the previous episode of Hermitcraft. 18 stacks and 37 items. I think. I actually can't remember. I'm going to quickly check my notebook. Yep, that was my time. Now, before I open this thing up to the public, I'm actually going to do something which a lot of you have been telling me to do down in the comment section. In fact, I'm going to do a few things that a lot of you have been telling me to do. Number 1 is to make my armor stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to kit this guy out in full gold armor so that you can spot him just a tiny bit easier, because I do understand that that was a little bit tricky. These signs should also help the player find out where they actually have to start, because I also understand that that potentially wasn't particularly very clear either. The last thing that I'm doing is I'm swapping out all of the pistons for the blocks they are. So those are the sea lanterns, because we've got a sea lantern key over here. We're going to place in a sign above that says take one of those keys, or place the specific key in there. But also the door that opens up, we're going to swap this one out with glass, because we have got glass as the key. So the key represents the block that is in the door. Thank you for your comments on that one. That's actually a really good suggestion. Now I am doing a quick playtest of this zone just to see if it works any better, and the first answer is yes. It's much less disorientating, but not disorientating, like it doesn't make it easier, it just makes it make sense more, because before it was annoying, it was a frustrating part of the map. Pick up key number 3, glass. That will keep them informed. That will ensure that they know exactly where they are, what key they need, what number of key it is, and what the key actually is. I've also added in extra helpful signs like this one. So put glass key in here. Make sure that the hermit knows exactly what key corresponds to what chest. And I've added in signs like this after the doors, telling them that they've made it into the next section of the maze. All of this should just make it more straightforward. That's kind of the idea here. You know what? I'm going to do this layer as well, the one with the buttons. I feel like that should probably be explained better too. We don't want any hermits getting stuck down here forever. Okay, we really don't want that. And thank goodness I did, because it's exposed a problem with the redstone. When you hit one of the buttons, it activates both pulse extenders, due to the fact that these things rely on redstone updates. So that means that both doors open when you hit the first button. That's not good. After many hours, this thing is now ready and open to the public. People can come play it. Any hermits, you guys can play. Go ahead, fire away. I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you find it as challenging as I found it to build it, because I've spent a lot of hours today just kind of fixing everything up, getting everything ready to go, and I think it looks good. I'm chuffed to bits with it. Really happy. Okay, let's do some planning for this passive mob farm then. But before we do anything like that, you guys know what time it is. This time we're going to be doing an AFK session of me standing, waiting for the sorting system to unplug itself. It's on fully manual mode, all of them are firing, so hopefully that should clear out the massive backlog of items. I've just logged back into the server, and it turns out the thing that was stopping this entire thing from working is this comparator right here. So this comparator right here got fully filled up with sand all the way to the brim, and that meant that the strength of the comparator, the signal strength of the comparator, was actually stronger than the signal strength of the redstone dust that had run up like this. It goes into the side of it, which meant that this thing was actually staying powered, which meant that none of these redstone torches were actually activating. And that is what has clogged up this system from this point back. That item elevator was basically stopped. So now that we've fixed that, that should now have fixed up the storage system, and we're going to have to, well, we're going to have to go AFK once again, and we're going to have to try our best to get this fixed. But anyway, for the time being, we have got some serious planning to do. So this is where the passive mob farm is going to be going. We're going to be building it in this area over here, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe we should come up with a design before we just start randomly building it on the Hermitcraft server. So I think some bits going up like that, and some bits going up like that. That was probably the least helpful explanation of a farm. I do apologise, it's very early in the morning. What I'm thinking is, we have some grass going up in like a diagonal, and then we'll have water, which is going to wash the mobs down into almost like a collection zone. In my head, this is going to work perfectly. Okay, so here is the pusher setup. So this is the water stream setup, and if we place a button up at the top right here, so that will flow the water down, and we are going to need to extend out the pulse, because if I was going to stand here, no, I guess that does a pretty good job. Maybe a slightly longer pulse than that, but of course, we're not going to activate this thing using a button. I think in terms of activation, we don't need it to activate that frequently. This isn't going to be the most efficient farm in the world. I think maybe just once a day? Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to do at all. Well, at least I suppose it's not causing too many issues. But now that that's fixed, we have got ourselves a working system. So if we set the time to, say, 15,000, that'll make it dark. And then if we set the time to 1,000, that will activate this circuit and create a very nice long pulse, which will allow all of the water to flow down before it shuts off. So any animals that are standing here are obviously going to get washed down, and they actually get washed down faster than the flow of the water. Even if they resist it a little bit, they should get pushed out, and they'll end up down at the bottom right here. So that's one of the layers. Obviously, we're going to have more layers than this. I think maybe, because these are pretty big layers, we need to have 4 blocks between them. I think maybe 4 layers, and then there'll be 1 on either side. So it'll essentially be a big V. Whoa, this thing looks wicked. This thing looks seriously cool. I am excited to build it in my base. That is going to be an awesome looking build. But I've started work on how I'm going to kill the animals. Originally, I was thinking I was going to use lava, but that's a little bit risky. I don't want to lose any items. So instead, I thought I'd set up some form of crusher system that will activate once the water flows down. Alright, let's do our first test. So I've activated the daylight cycle. I'm going to spawn in a whole bunch of pigs. I've also got some pigs down at the bottom here because I was testing out my crushing system. So we need to set the time to probably around about maybe 19,000. And then we wait for the daylight sensors to actually start kicking in. Right, the water has activated, so that's running down like that. And that is gradually pushing our pigs downwards. Now, we kind of have an inbuilt delay here in that the daylight sensor has to reach signal strength of 3 to actually boot up our crusher. So these guys are making their way down. I wonder if it's going to be, okay, so we're up to 2 redstone signal strength. All of the pigs have now dropped in, apart from one who seems to be a little bit stuck. And that's just booted in. That. Well, that is promising. I mean, that was good. I feel like we need a tiny bit more delay between the activation and the crusher. But as you can see, that has done the work. Okay, so I'm going to extend out this redstone signal by maybe I guess just a couple more blocks, I suppose. There's no big deal there. So we'll run that up like this. And we need to make sure that it's daylight accessible. But other than that, I am perfectly happy. This thing is going to function, is going to work really nicely. Once we get a couple layers on top of it as well, it is going to start looking absolutely awesome. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That rounds everything up for today's episode of Hermitcraft. The next one is going to involve actually constructing this thing on the Hermitcraft server in all of its glory. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please draw to that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.